Within a collaborative bargaining model, decision making and negotiation are less about leaders with power dictating action and more about drawing from the strengths of your bargaining team members in a collaborative forum to explore options for mutual gains. To that end, it can be helpful to understand your interactions and engagements through the lens of partnership development. When two parties gather around the negotiation table, this is a partnership that, if structured correctly, can shape a fruitful discourse toward discovering individual as well as shared needs and critical interests for finding resolutions to our enduring challenges. What we're striving to develop is the emergence of a bargaining structure that paves the way for collaborative discourse, an environment that enables the parties to join forces for joint problem solving and generating options for mutual gains. This idea of the partnership mindset illuminates our core goal in a collaborative negotiation model. Remember that we're seeking to secure wise agreements for mutual benefits. This means that we want to align ourselves with our negotiation partners. Notice that this is a very different perspective from the traditional bargaining mindset, where we align ourselves against our negotiation adversaries. Under a collaborative model of bargaining and negotiation, we align with our partners to confront the issues and challenges that we face together through the negotiation process. Now, given that we're trying to make a significant shift in our bargaining and negotiation practices to embrace a partnership mindset, we're also going to need a new model for communicating with our colleagues in the bargaining arena. If our priorities are to be innovative, dynamic, adaptive, or even at a base level to just be effective in our work, then we have to devise ways to stop fighting amongst ourselves and running into friction within our own teams. This is going to require that we usher in a new era of communication with a series of strategies that can help to shift the mindsets of our team members. We should be seeking to align people to be on the same side of this fight and to focus their energy on attacking problems and challenges that we face together rather than attacking one another. To accomplish our goal of aligning with our negotiation partners, what we're doing is making an incremental shift in the culture of communication within our teams, moving away from traditional hierarchies of authority within our communication structure and embracing a more interconnected network of communication. You see, our organizational culture lives within our conversations. So if we want to enact a culture of alignment, we need to enable our teams to communicate constructively and collaboratively. To align with our negotiation partners means that we need to value their perceptions, their vantage points, and their contributions to our bargaining conversations. In a collaborative bargaining context, we have to allow space within our conversations for all participant voices to be heard and valued alongside of our own. What we're doing through this maneuver is to restructure our teams toward a network of communication that encourages the exploration of ideas. Through this partnership mindset, we're working together to co-create the narrative around any particular issue that we need to address. Now, one very common area of friction within bargaining conversations emerges from the perception of limited resources. This zero-sum perspective assumes that there's a limited supply of some commodity, whether that be financial resources, labor resources, material objects, or maybe even physical space. This idea of resource scarcity can even be extended to a mindset of control, leaving some of the actors in a negotiation grappling for power and positioning themselves to be in control of decision making or maybe even just manipulating the flow of a conversation. This fixed pie mentality, it's really prevalent throughout our culture, and it commonly dominates partnership and bargaining work. What often results is a struggle for control that frequently leads our teams into competition for resources and power. And that zero-sum perspective, it can be really destructive to generating wise agreements in a negotiation. But what's more devastating is that it's often a fallacy. In a collaborative bargaining environment, resource limitations in all of their forms are not really a matter to be grappled over, but rather they represent potential constraints as well as opportunities for innovation. To achieve our goal of aligning with our negotiation partners, it's important that we recognize the zero sum perspective and attempt to resist the urge to collapse into combat over resources. We want to embrace a more productive philosophy, understanding that in our partnership development work, we're going to wield the full power of our collective resources and our capabilities to confront emergent challenges in the spirit of collaboration and also in our pursuit of wise agreements, that we're trying to generate mutual benefits. In short, we're going to suspend the impulse to compete and replace that impulse with a drive to align with our colleagues. Now, this shift in mindset also means that we have to tear down the silos that serve as impassable barriers within our organizations and in our negotiation partnerships. We have to diminish territorialism and share the rewards and the recognition of co innovation with our partners at the negotiation table. Allowing ourselves to open our minds and to be willing to embrace the perceptions of our colleagues is a huge first step toward establishing a mutual understanding and to reduce the negative impacts of territorialism. This represents a major shift in mindset as we approach bargaining and negotiations, helping to transition our efforts from a position-based bargaining framework toward a more productive interest-based or collaborative model for negotiation. But what does that really mean? Position-based versus interest-based negotiations. Well, let's get into a little bit of a comparative analysis here between these two different models. Traditional position-based bargaining is largely predicated on situating ourselves as adversaries in combat against one another. Within a position-based model, participants arrive to a negotiation with their own position in mind. That is, they know exactly what they want, and each party is going to fight and maneuver to exert their will against their opponents in order to get their way. Within an interest-based model, though, participants arrive to have a conversation on a specific topic with their list of priorities regarding what they care about and why they care about them. We call these critical interests. The participants are planning to engage collaboratively with their negotiating partners to co-innovate solutions that meet their collective interests. The great value of an interest-based approach is that by adopting a mutually agreed upon collaboration model, we align ourselves with our fellow participants in mutual combat, not against each other, but against the problems and challenges that we face in our partnership. As a model, collaborative bargaining confronts the natural human tendency to immediately jump into competition to get what we want, and it helps us to become wise problem solvers by looking at the actual problems and our respective interests in resolving them. By realigning our focus on addressing issues and interests, we reshape our goal away from achieving victory over each other and rather seek to achieve the goal of finding a mutually beneficial agreement. A central problem with position-based bargaining is the inequity that power dynamics can create in our discussions. In traditional position-based bargaining, participants attempt to wield their power against one another in order to maximize their gains, or maybe at least to minimize their own losses. Instead of approaching bargaining as a chance to damage our partners, within a collaborative approach, we seek to leverage the value of our diverse vantage points to cultivate a maximum number of options. We engage in a creative problem-solving initiative to collaboratively generate a large number of choices that can serve to address our critical interests. Rather than leveraging power to force our will upon each other, we leverage our collective assets and abilities to secure mutual benefits for the joint advantage of our partnership. These mental maneuvers allow us to move away from a place of mistrust and engage with each other in full discourse. No hidden agendas. And we actively seek the best outcomes for our collective interests. It's all about changing our sense of identity. We're not competing against each other, but rather we're working to enhance our operations together. Now, what you see in the left-hand column, this traditional position-based bargaining, is something that I like to jokingly call a model for how to kill innovation and settle for lousy deals. But all joking aside, the shift toward collaboration can be a bit of a foreign concept for some people who have grown accustomed to operating within a combative environment. But remember that what we're striving for here in our bargaining and negotiation agreements is to forge a long-term partnership through a relational paradigm. If we approach a negotiation as a single transaction where victory is our only concern, we may emerge victorious over our colleagues, but we'll also be very likely to damage our working relationships, create distrust, and significantly erode our ability to find productive outcomes from our future engagements. Wise agreements are not only about walking away with a smart solution that addresses our combined interests, but they're also about preserving our ability to return to future conversations and continue to produce innovations and wise solutions. In many regards, implementing an interest-based partnership model inherently incorporates your preferences because one of the core foundations of the model is to centrally focus on the issues and interests that are important to each party at the table, and to align ourselves to innovate together against the problems we face. As we stated before, complex challenges are best addressed through the vantage points of diverse experiences and expertise. Through a collaborative, interest-based approach, teams thrive and achieve inspiring results when given the space for joint investment, meaningful reflection, and co-innovation. This is a powerful mindset transition that we're actively seeking to promote, one that results in the realization that we're all on the team together and we're about to do some incredibly rewarding things. To achieve this transition, though, as leaders, it's incumbent on us to make the leap first and to invest in our people to align with purpose and to ignite meaningful change. And we accomplish this by integrating and taking ownership of deeply connected communication strategies within our collaborative bargaining model. What you see here are the 6 core communication strategies of collective bargaining: listening for understanding, embracing multiple realities, de-escalating charged language, converting positions to interests, separating people from the problems, and focusing on interests, not positions. And soon we'll dive into each of these strategies to provide guidance for implementing them into your own communications toolbox. Importantly, each of the 6 core strategies, in their own way, are working toward building a collaborative communication paradigm that helps to shape all of our work within bargaining and negotiation as a partnership together.